Hello everyone, my name is Zubair. I'm here today to talk about RapidFTR. Jason asked me kindly. I'm not sure what the link type is. I think it's just that there's flooding. And there's flooding. So RapidFTR is a really good example of a social impact project which isn't at the start as all of these projects kind of sound like they are. And has actually made some progress and had some good social impact. So I was the technical lead on this project. It started in 2010. So what I'll do is I'll tell you what FTR is, and then I'll go into how nerds got involved, how we got involved, and how we tried to make FTR better, and the result of that being RapidFTR. And then I'll talk a bit about the technical, sort of what I like to say, fun challenges. How many people here are developers or designers? Okay. It's good mix, isn't it? And the non-technical, unfun, sort of political challenges of getting people to use the system. And then there's that last little section on winning, because it's out there and it's working. So FTR is family tracing and reunification. It's family tracing and reunification. So whenever there's a natural disaster or war or something that causes a big displacement of people, one sort of inevitable outcome is children get separated from their caregivers, from their parents, from their extended family, or just from the people in their village. And FTR is a sort of well-documented process that child protection agencies go through to first register children and then to ultimately reunite them with their families. Now, the registering is the most important part because that gives the child access to aid. It gets them security, it gets them food, it gets them water. So that is actually unusually what we focus more on for FTR. And then secondly, obviously, the ultimate goal is to get them back to their families. FTR, as it was mostly a paper-based process. So aid workers and social workers would go out with forms and take down details of lost children. Maybe if they were lucky, they would have a digital camera and take a photo, go back to the office, print those out, and use those to sort of go through this process. So I'll talk a bit about how we got involved. So in 2010, there was the hurricane that hit Haiti and destroyed a lot of lives. And obviously when these sorts of disasters happen in countries like Haiti, the impacts are a lot greater. So we had some flooding recently, and that was quite mild in comparison to the sort of impacts that happened out there in those sorts of times. In 2010, I also just had my first child, so I was quite happy to help out kids because I really liked babies. I like them slightly less now. But back then I was all about saving lives. So when the bad thing happened, what works, first donated money to UNICEF to help, because that's easy, that's what we can do. But then also wanted to donate some skill, because it's easy to donate money, it's easy to go out and to do stuff that really does need doing. But we can have a bigger impact if we do the things that we're skilled at, right? But unfortunately, when there's a hurricane, when there's people without homes, no one's actually looking for developers or business analysts. They're looking for people who can move stuff. That was a joke. So there wasn't sort of any immediate response. But then, does anyone remember a small news story that came out at that time about a group of American missionaries that were arrested for kidnapping? Yeah, so some very good, well-meaning Christian people went out there and stole some kids. So they wanted to take the children and give them a better life elsewhere, but they didn't sort of have any access to the process that would have tried to at least reunite those children with their families. So when that happened, someone from UNICEF phoned the guys at ThoughtWorks and said, there's a project that we need your help with. So this project is RapidFTR. It came out of New York University's ITP course. ITP course is a strange course where sort of a cross between art and technology and a little touch of social impact sort of comes together, and basically really smart kids do really cool things with computers. So one project that Jorge, who started the RapidFTR project, it was a little program that sat on an asterisk telephone service and would randomly phone people and recite poetry. Just completely generated poetry. But the other project he worked on as well, it was beautiful. You can't see him so much because of his dark beard, but he's a great man. So one of his ideas was RapidFTR. So as I said, FTR is a mostly paper-based system. One of the bigger problems with any FTR effort is actually physically getting carbon paper to the disaster area. So big sort of containers full of paper being taken out to do this process. So as geeks, we all know that the best thing to do with paper is to replace it with computers, right? You know, you never can sort of actually. You can't save everything that you do on it now. I don't know why we do it, but we do it. Secondly, because we want to make a big impact here, we can't change too much. So it's easy to run off and think, okay, let's get some bracelets with GPS in them, we can put those on the kids, and then we can find kids wherever they are. You know, let's do all sorts of seriously fancy stuff with all the technology we have, because there's bigger restrictions out there, right? So we can't go straight to those ideas, but we can replace paper.
No idea. I would put this down.
And the other sort of goal that we needed was to make sure it's open and adoptable. So UNICEF is just one aid agency. There's a good few that do child protection. And also the sort of funding from Fulbright is only 10 million of me. 10 million of me is pretty awesome. It's not that awesome. So we needed to make it open, and we needed to make it so that other agencies could use the system. So this is what we came up with. RapidFTR is a system that allows, one of the main technical problems with existing FTR, sort of translating those paper documents to computers, is that the paper documents vary from every disaster situation. So different communities gather different information, different situations require different information. And sort of the biggest problem in this paper is how do you fit that in a relational database? But that problem wasn't the biggest problem that we had. The biggest problem is that we probably wouldn't have electricity. Right? So, in order to sort of keep into these sort of technical restrictions that we have, the goal was to keep everything very simple. And also to get to sort of foster the open source community interest is to make it interesting. This is my favorite description of the system because this describes basically any computer program anyone has ever written. Right? So you've got some API stuff here, some client stuff here, you read and you write this stuff. There's a secret line at the bottom that says we also tell you what forms to show. And maybe the hard bit of what we're doing, but that's all it does. But we needed to make it interesting. So I'm not saying we sort of compacted it, made it more complex than we wanted, but we did choose to use Ruby, because if you're going to get people to do something out of their sort of working hours, you don't do it in Java or .NET, because that will make them cry. Secondly, to get over, so this paper that we got from these New York University things was like, oh my god, relational databases, they require you to specify everything that you're going to get, but we don't know what we're going to get. It came to me and I said, yeah, we'll just use a document database. It's no longer a problem, right? So it was early on, so I used CouchDB. Turns out not the most popular. But it did have some very good stuff in it that made it very good for what we were. So we can't depend on anything. So it would be easy to say, we could use facial recognition, we get a bunch of cloud servers, put all these nice photos of these lost kids, and then a parent could come up and say, do you know this kid? And we can find it, but we might not have electricity, let alone internet, let alone access to Amazon. I mean, I don't often have access to Amazon. from work. So one thing we did with CouchDB is CouchDB has a thing called replication filtering, where it's really good at saying, hey, there's another database, I'm going to copy myself over there. So what we built was a system that can run on networks. Do you remember what networks are? Around 2010, they were really rubbishy with laptops, but they were cheap, and you could have many of them, charge them, and they could run CouchDB and browse app easily. Right? Equally, because we kept it simple, it's still a web app. We could put it on cloud servers, we could put it on a big machine in an office somewhere. And that gave us the ability to do cool things like, okay, there's a disaster. We'll install it on some networks, send you out with some phones, you've got to gather this information, and then you can come back to the office. And your network will automatically synchronize all of that information to the box that we have locked up here. Because this child information is a security concern, there's all sorts of things. But that also enables the sharing, so the adoptability. So I'm a UNICEF agent, I go out, I gather stuff, I come back to the office, I put it on the internet, and save the children have the same information. So a parent doesn't have to come to UNICEF to find their child. So we built that, and obviously 2010 we want to put it on mobile, we want an app. So we actually started on BlackBerry devices. No, this is a mistake. We did that on purpose. We did that even though I said no. We did that even though I said it uses Java, MIDP. I don't even know what it means, what it does. We did that for these unfun reasons. So we had to make sure it's adopted by everybody. UNICEF, I don't know if I should say it. UNICEF has a very strange procurement process, which I'm sure many government agencies do, where they have to put it out to tender, get the cheapest people in, and prove that they did it this way. Which apparently means BlackBerry. I don't know how that worked out, because we did rock up in Uganda to do some field tests, and they were very proud of these 15 BlackBerry phones that they'd spent something like 12, 13 grand to achieve. But there was a good reason, because that allowed us to get to where we are today. So if we had gone in and said, yeah, it works on Android, we don't have any Android phones, you're going to have to leave. It's not going to work. And another sort of strange thing I had to do was that these aid agencies are all very competitive for funding, so they don't. ICRC don't like to work with Save the Children, Save the Children. Save the Children are happy to work with anyone, but you have to sort of navigate all of that. So this is why we started off completely open source and not even under the UNICEF banner, so it was just us working on it. And then that eventually gets to a critical mass. So we were taken to Uganda, we did some field trials, we spoke to children. I went out and met a child soldier. So like, we drove for several hours into some grass, and then the driver chucked a left into the grass, and then there was a small village. And this kid who was kidnapped from when he was, I don't know, 8 or so, told us the whole story about how he was coming back and how his parents told us more interesting story of how they found him. So they did things like, they would go and listen to a radio station that would broadcast the name of kids that had been found, and they did that for a year, 2 years, until they eventually actually heard his name. So this gave us some good feeling. He also said that, oh, I look like Little John. Anyone know Little John? Yeah, he was like a rapper. Which was strange, because we live in the field and a lot of grass, but you know who Little John is. So we did these field trials with these mobile phones, and we had concerns that, oh, it's a mobile phone, it's going to distract the kid, it's going to scare the kid away, or it's going to make the field agent not know, sort of, they're going to spend too much time playing with the device and they're not talking. But it had the opposite effect. Like the kid really was interested in the phone. One day even asked me why I didn't have an iPhone. They won't let me to do it. So anyway, fast forward 4 years. I've not touched the project in 2 years because I had those children. And they take up a lot of time. But RapidFTR is actually being deployed. So RapidFTR is being used in Uganda and South Sudan and most recently in the Philippines. That was really amazing for me to see. So see all these projects and all that, can you come and help us start this? All that stuff does build up, does turn into something really amazing. There are thousands of children registered on the RapidFTR system. So, hundreds of kids that have been actually reunited. So here's some cool 007 stuff. Those packages are solar suitcases. So they're using those to charge up all of those Android phones, because I was right. Did want to put it on that. And you see that guy in the back? So I intended to talk a little while ago about how you can be superheroes and developers can be superheroes. He's actually called Batman. I'm not joking. You know when Indian guys with very long names say just call me Batman? This guy does. And those are netbooks and those are lots of files and they're prepping for a situation. And these are those solar chargers which goes to sustainability, which is why you asked me to talk here, Jason, right? Yeah. These are those solar chargers in a very sunny room charging up those netbooks. And this is more importantly, some aid agents being trained on how to use the system. So I've actually managed to do an entire talk based on reuniting children with the families that took photos of children. But I did that a little bit on purpose. That makes me feel uncomfortable and sometimes makes me cry like a baby. So yeah, I don't really know what the point of my story was, except for RapidFTR is really cool. It's still there, it still needs help. So it may look inactive. The last commit was 3 months ago on the master branch, but that is because they're deploying it. And they work on those deployments rather than on the master branch. So I need your help. And equally, all these projects here that are asking for your help will be really good.